I love the MLS. It gets such an unfair reputation for the lack of quality, but on FIFA, it's probably the best league in the entire game if you love following realistic rules. Basically, any team in the league could finish first or last just due to how even everything is, and that competitiveness combined with the standard American weirdness is exactly why you need to try this league. Today, I'll go into as much detail as possible as to why you need to give it a go. I think the MLS actually seems to be very popular under the radar. Videos about this league was the first time I ever reached 1,000, 10,000 and 100,000 views on one video, and yet I never see Europeans want to give it a try. It has so much going for it in FIFA. It has a super even league, it has the best player of all time, is fully licensed and even has a unique structure. The MLS rules are undoubtedly one of the reasons that people aren't so fond of the MLS, but because they're not actually in the game, it's totally up to you how you apply them. I really do recommend you do give them a go, because if you do add them, the league becomes so much more fun. The majority of the rules can be done super easily too. Things like salary cap and rosters are already mostly in the game, and others like the superdraft are tougher, but still easy enough for everyone to implement. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy my saves in Poland or Norway with similar ranked teams, but the fact you'll be randomly facing Christian Benteke on Timo Pukki in one game, and then Messi and Suarez in the next, is undeniably a pretty fun situation. If you're not interested in keeping the rules realistic, you can probably use the timestamp that's in the description to skip straight to the parts where I talk about which teams are fun to use, but before we talk about that, let's talk about which systems make sense and how to use them in your FIFA career mode save. So the first one we need to talk about is player trading. How often have you actually seen a part exchange or a player swap happen in European football? Mkhitaryan and Sanchez is the only major recent one I can think of, although I guess Zlatan and Eto'o was bigger, but that was about 15 to 20 years ago now. Trading is a huge part of the MLS and should also be a big part of your save. It's a quite easy way to keep your save realistic, because some of these squad players have played for 6 or 7 different MLS teams. In fact, I saw Dominic Odoro, he was traded between 8 different teams in the MLS and never played for more than 2 seasons at any one club. If you've got a player who hasn't featured in more than 5 games, I think you should really be trading them for someone who might from a different MLS club. It's a really easy and fun way to try lots of new players while you're doing your save, and it also will help the AI team stay strong too. I found that once you make a transfer with the AI, they sort of reanalyze their squad and decide where they need to strengthen in the transfer market. It just seems to be benefits all around. As you'll only have a 30 player limit, squad depth is actually really important in the MLS, and trading is a really cool way to try and keep the quality of the league high for more than 2 or 3 seasons. If you've chosen to click on this video, you probably know already about the salary cap and the designated player rules, but if you don't, every club is allowed to spend around $5.2 million on wages every single season. This is a total of $100,000 per week, not including the 3 players that you can pay whatever you want. These are called designated players, and people like Beckham and Zlatan were the reason that this exists. While the rest of your team's probably going to be quite average, these 3 players can be genuine superstars, and they're so important to get these 3 transfers right. In career mode, you can see your current squad wages right here in the finance tab. For some people it's done monthly, so just times this by 12, and on some languages this is done weekly, so just times this by 52. It's really not too hard to figure out what your yearly wages are, but it can be quite scary with how much some youth players get offered straight out of the academy this year. In fact, you might be wondering about how to even realistically get players from your academy, so let's talk about that next. So, the superdraft. This is the unique way that American sports decide where young players can go. It's not part of FIFA by default, but if you've ever played Madden or NBA 2K, you'll know exactly how this works. The worse you do in the league, the closer to the top you pick in the draft. Last place picks the first player, while first place gets the last pick. It might sound quite hard to replicate, but I actually think I found a pretty fun way of doing it really easily. The superdraft takes place every December, so in every single March you need to send out 3 scouts to 3 countries for 9 months. The scouts will return from their trips in December, and half the players will have already been taken by AI clubs from around the world. Because there are 29 teams in the MLS, I usually go with this kind of rule set. If I finish in the bottom 6 of the MLS, I can pick 6 players from these scout reports. For every 6 places higher I finish, I get 1 less pick. That means 22nd place finish would only pick 5, 16th place picks 4, and so on and so on. It also means if I win the MLS, I'm only getting 2 academy players that season. It's just a natural way to boost the team when it's doing badly, but also punish success just like the MLS does in real life. These 2 players can still grow to be 90 rated, and of course you should probably sell them when they reach about 80, but I think this is a really fun and really balanced way of implementing the draft inside career mode. Okay, so that entire section there was just me talking about realistic rules. This league is intense, but as long as you keep on track of squad size, salary and designated player, you should be as close to realistic as is possible inside career mode. I'll talk about some real clubs in a minute, but I think one of the most underrated things about the MLS is the insane amount of creator club options. You can base your teams around NFL, NBA, NHL or women's soccer teams, and that would give you an instant creator club name, kit and culture combo. Combine this with the fact that every city in America is famous for something. It could be Elvis, it could be the Daytona 500, the Indianapolis races, it could be barbecue ribs. There's so many easy ways to combine to create a really interesting, unique and realistic creator club save. Could you be the person that brings Puerto Rico's Puerto Rico United or the Caribbean's Antigua Barracuda to the MLS? Well, both of these did exist in the former second tier. There's just so many interesting ideas when it comes to the USA, and I don't feel any other nation on the game comes even close to matching the USA. In terms of real clubs, there's just so many cool stories to talk about. There might be this reputation that there's not a huge amount of history in the MLS, but there are still fallen giants. Clubs like Chicago Fire, who won the MLS double back in 1998, but haven't even made it to the playoffs since 2017. That's 8 long seasons without the playoffs, and nearly 20 years without winning a title. In 2024, they actually finished bottom of the Eastern Conference, so that is a massive fallen giant from a big city that you've probably heard of. It's as close as you can get to a fallen giant save in the MLS anyway, but if you like the youth academy and don't feel like playing with the superdraft I mentioned earlier, you might love Philadelphia Union, who have been top of the MLS academy rankings for absolutely ages and have just produced Kevin Sullivan, who's already agreed to join Man City at the age of 14. You can do lots of RTGs as well, especially now the MLS is 28 years old and has 29 teams. That means there's plenty of teams that have never won an MLS Cup. This includes big names like New York Red Bulls, New England Revolution and FC Dallas, who have all played in every season since 1996 but never won the MLS. I think the Revs are the most interesting of these 3 because they've reached the final 5 times and lost all 5 finals. Personally, I love going for Canadian teams and trying to build a fully French-speaking team, but that's what's so cool about having a 29-team league with so much variation throughout the United States. You can do literally anything you want in the MLS, and if you keep it realistic, you can have one of the hardest but most fun saves possible in FC25. Let me know which teams you like using in the comments below, and if you've got any different ways of making these rules in career mode, let me know those too. Check out the video on the screen right now if you want to see some more FC25 content, but thank you for watching, I'll see you soon, cheers and goodbye.